Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and I think it's about time we finished our Daily Bugle conversion into the Brick Nottingham Post by covering it with Ultra Agents villains. So if you haven't seen the previous, 5 parts, then I suggest you watch those first, but in a nutshell, we have transformed set 76178, the Daily Bugle, into a similar but quite different building, being the Brick Nottingham Post. The main thing we've done is de-marvel it. So there's absolutely sort of no reference to the Spider-Man villains or characters at all. We've also added another floor, this one over here, using all the spare parts that we liberated by strengthening the building, reattaching the sort of removable front pieces and making them open back so they could be a facade against the wall of my Lego room. So that's a lot better. We also changed the fire escape, which was my biggest problem with it, to make them sort of double span between each floor rather than the sort of having 2 balconies per floor, which I really didn't like at all. We've also added a stupidly long sign saying Brick Nottingham Post, which has a sort of angle off here. Can't fit it on screen at all. And now I've started smashing it all up with the Ultra villains from the Ultra Agents line from 2014-2015. So I did a direct replacement of the Green Goblin with Antimatter here, who's the leader of the Ultra Villains. And last time I put Smashing through the ground floor and all through the foyer, destroying it and removing the Daily Bugle sign that was there as well. Tremor in his Tremor track. So that looks really fantastic as well. And I have, for today, until we install it at least, put all of the loose bits that are going to be all over the front of that scene into a little pot so I can add them again later. And then at the very end, we added this guy who's called Invisible, who I'm reliably informed is also a character in the Ninjago line along with Toxikita. So that's really interesting that it's transcended 2 lines. I think they're actually different characters rather than the same literal person, but definitely the same figure. So yeah, I need to add a lot more of those. And I made a couple of changes from suggestions that you gave me last time. One was changing Invisible's hat to the right one. For some reason I had the wrong one on there, so thanks very much for that. And another suggestion was on the same floor, and we added Retox, who's the character in there. You can just see him coming out of the opening lift, which I think was a really good change on my printing floor. And somebody suggested just adding him a sort of splat, sort of neon green type firing piece, so it looks like he's firing something toxic, which makes a lot of sense. And also that shows up a lot better than the orange one that I had in there against the orange floor. So I thought that was a really good idea as well. It's all very delicate now. We've got things hanging off all sides. So thanks very much for that as well. Right, so where to start today? Well, I really want to have another quick go at Antimatter, actually, because although I got him firing off this rocket and it all looking absolutely fantastic, I didn't change how he was actually connected to the building from when Green Goblin was there. And essentially, he's fine for most of the time, and you can spin his sort of spinning section of his dish. But if you're not very careful, he will topple over. And that's because this bar piece is just held in on its end, and obviously it can twist. And I think Antimatter on his dish is a lot heavier than the Green Goblin. So yeah, I'm going to clamp that in somehow and make sure that it can't rotate, and maybe even have it so he's attached to this end. I don't know, see which one's more strong. And then we can get on with all the new ones as well. Right, well, it's very important that the leader of the Ultra Villains is secure and not going to fall upside down, because that would be an absolute disaster. So I'm really happy with this solution. Instead of having the trans-clear bar held by this kind of end here where it can rotate very easily, I've basically taken the same thing and just put it into with one of these modified plates, because it needs to be kind of upside down. So by pushing the stud into that and building that end into the building that you can probably see just in there, then this is held the right way up, or rather the wrong way up, so we can attach Antimatter, and that means that I can still spin his sort of spinning feature. He is a bit wobbly, but then he is flying along and he's still firing his rocket, and I think he looks rather fantastic. So yeah, I'm going to have to be careful moving him around, but once he's in position, I think that'll look really dynamic, him flying out of that explosion. And I think just because this explosion, I hadn't really realised when I did the one last time, they're quite similar in a way. I mean, they're very different, but they're also very similar. So what I'm probably going to do is make this one floor higher, so it's kind of the second one from the top, just to separate the two explosions, the two similar scenes, a bit more when I put this all together. But that's the wonderful thing about it being the sort of modular nature, is that I can do that and try it and see if it looks good, and if not, try it a different way around until I really like it. So that's him fixed. Who's next? Good, good. Now, one concern I've got with adding all of these ultra villains to this building is that there are 14 of them. So it might look a bit busy, really. And although some might be on the inside and be less visible, yeah, I've got to be careful. So far I've added, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's potentially 9 more to add. Anyway, I'm going to go bit by bit and see if it gets too full, basically. And the next place I want to focus on is the top. Now, this is the sort of communications antenna where Firestar was located, and she had all the sort of flames coming out of her legs, and she was mounted onto one of these pieces, and it was all added on at a really sort of jaunty angle at the top, and that looked absolutely fantastic. So I want to do something similar to that on this aerial. I may add another one sort of on the sign and on the water thing as well, but that one's first. So I've got 3 contenders. The first one is this guy, Cyclone, who is, well, you can tell he's a flyer. He's got these sort of fan blades on this backpack, and that's very good. He actually does have a vehicle, which is this absolutely huge mech thing, and that's why we're not including that, because it's about as big as the building. But anyway, so that's contender 1. And I thought he could basically even just stick right on this modified plate here and kind of be flying around with his blades. I think that looks quite good, but he looks like he's kind of hiding behind it, and he doesn't look dramatic enough for me. So I'm sort of thinking probably put him somewhere down one of the sides or something like that. The next contender is this guy with his sticks of dynamite, his sort of flamethrower backpack, and his wonderful flying surfboard with flames and all the rest of that coming out. Now he's called Inferno, like Inferno, but with the word fear in the middle. And he's from 70162, Inferno Inception. So he's really nice, and he's a really good minifigure, actually. He's sort of got his flaming head in there. And I figured I could put him in a similar part to Firestar, and maybe have that on the hinge bit over here. And I could have a similar angle, do something like that. You can see it's a bit wobbly. It was a bit wobbly with Firestar on in the first place, and that looks pretty good. Yeah, I don't know if it's good enough though, because the third option is pretty impressive, I must say. And this was one of the hardest ones to put together, and definitely one of the most expensive minifigures that I've ever bought, well, new, but from a reseller. And this is the character Electrolyzer from the set 70173, Ultra Agents Ocean HQ. And he's got these wonderful sort of electric bolts. His backpack's all sort of firing electricity. He's also got flick fire missiles and these blades on here. And he can drop this bomb that's kind of on the front of his mech by opening these 2 arms at the front, and it will just fall under gravity. So it's a bit, well, a bit loose, to be honest. But anyway, look at that. That is an absolutely great little flyer. And it's quite different from the one that Antimatter's got. So I kind of like that. So I was thinking that I could kind of attach that to there and then have that on there. But we've got a serious droop problem, and nobody wants a droop problem. So basically I'm going to have to think again about this. So one way I could do that is by taking off this whole sort of setup and remove this ball and joint bit, and maybe connect it directly into this build. That's what I'm thinking. And though the bar is under a bit of pressure, you can actually see it bending. It's almost like a weightlifter's bar when they lift the incredible weights at the Olympics. But it is static. Now, the only thing with this is, all you've got to do is give that a tap, and the whole thing is going to come tumbling down. So I think I also need to reinforce this and its connection to underneath. So what I thought I would do, if I can turn this around with its ridiculously large sign, it's so silly. I thought I could basically add this contraption, which is just a couple of Technic bricks all joined together to give a much firmer base, and with an axle pointing up. And I've already moved the other bricks on the roof to accommodate this. And that means that when I put this onto here, oh, hold on, let's get it right. Got to do it the other way now, since I've turned it around. Then it should be absolutely anchored on. That's the plan anyway. So then when I turn this back around via the very long route and show you it now, then I think that is secure. I'll give it the tap test. Oh yeah, look at that. Wobbly, but secure-ish. As secure as the sign is anyway. So yeah, I really like that. And I think as well, the problem with this guy especially is that he's red and the sign's red and so on, and it's all a bit similar. Whereas the blue and yellow up there, wow, doesn't that look amazing? Even the angle that he just happens to have landed at with me putting him on camera looks absolutely brilliant. So I might keep that. Cool. Right, where should we attach the other two? Well, it occurs to me that this setup would be a lot more stable if there was something else on this side, counterbalancing the weight that's clearly trying to pull it over to our right. And although I have secured it down with quite a few pieces and a few tiles now as well, I think that would definitely help matters. So what I'm going to do is just take off what we just did, but then add in 1x2 plate, and then that original sort of ball and joint brick, because basically I think this guy is not going to be so heavy that it's going to drag it down with a bit of a droop. And then we can put that back. Yeah, and already I can tell that it's not sort of wanting to lean to the right quite so much. Now the main viewing angle for all of this is kind of from over here, so I don't want him completely hidden behind it, so I'll try and tilt him sort of into it a bit like this, and then maybe that will look good. I don't want him looking like he's about to collide with it either. But there we go. Yeah, so there's Cyclone in position, and I think he looks rather good as well. Another good colour contrast. And why not have the third one flying around this area as well? Or actually, fifth flyer. It's going to be like a swarm of bees around this building, isn't it? Anyway, why not have yet another flyer around this section of it? And I figured this one could be connected by another one of these trans pieces, maybe connected onto the side motor bit of his flying surfboard, so it can come at a really sort of jaunty angle like that, and I can have him looking the way he's going. And I figure this time I might have him hanging off something. So maybe I'll have him hanging off the K of my brick Nottingham post sign. Now that's going to be, well, I think that's relatively secure, but just to make it even more secure, I'm just going to add this kind of setup to clamp the back of that bar piece onto the rest of the sign and hold the K on, because I think if the K was sort of knocked from behind, then basically it would take Inferno with it, but not now it's clamped on. So there we go, and I think I can, get him going maybe at an interesting sort of angle like that, maybe even tilt him down or up a bit, so he looks best. But there we go, how about that? And that you'll also be able to see from the main viewing angle like that, because he's below the sign. I think the red will stand out pretty well. Yeah, cool. We're making good progress. This thing's going to look awesome. All right, so this midsection in between the two explosions has already got Invisible from the Invisible Gold Getaway 70167 on one side, but I figure we can have something on the other side to balance it out, maybe slightly higher up about here to kind of balance things out. And the best one I thought for this area was actually Spyclops. And here is Spyclops. He's kind of a spy, and he's only got one eye, so he's called Spyclops. You'd imagine that's self-explanatory, really. There was also a Spyclops character in the old Agents line as well, but he was very different. He had many eyes, as I recall. Anyway, he's from set 70166, Spyclops Infiltration, and in that he's riding this wonderful sort of, well, what is it? It's not a mech, really, is it? It's sort of a crawler with 3 legs in this nice sand blue colour. I mean, another different colour scheme that makes all of these sets absolutely wonderful. I'm so glad to be liberating all of the minifigures from their town hall meeting where I had them all before, and actually include all of these small builds that I've been collecting all of the parts for months now, it seems like. Some a lot harder to get than others. The parts for the antimatter one were absolutely crazy difficult to get. I had to go right into Germany and rest of Europe to find those. But anyway, so this has got 3 legs and this sort of big gun on the bottom. And I figured this could probably crawl up walls. I mean, it looks like it could, doesn't it? So I figured this could kind of be like halfway up a wall, kind of like this, crawling on the outside of the building. And I think that'd look really good. So I think I'm going to have to remove the gun on the bottom, at least for now. And I figured what I'll try and do is make an attachment here. So you can see I've added a Technic axle hole to kind of clip the bottom into. And I've tried all the different angled pieces to see which one is best. And I think this one is. So what's that? It's a pretty much 45 degrees off from straight. So I can put that on him, and just to get him attached I pretty much have to remove these pieces, obviously, because all these rails really get in the way. Now this is going to somewhat get in the way of separating this building, floor from floor, because he's kind of straddling too, but I think the scene is probably more important than that little bit of difficulty. So there he is attached there, and then I can put his little sort of toes back on. Must be what they are. There we go, so that's fine. So he looks like he's sort of clamped onto the outside of the building in the process of moving around. And I reckon I could even get his gun back on. If I just get rid of that piece, put that in there. It'll be pointing up towards the sky or down towards the ground, but maybe he's not using it right now. So that looks pretty good as well, I think. Yeah, very dynamic, and that's what we're going for here. So that is really good to see. And then another thing that came in that set, which is definitely to do with Spyclops, is these sort of metallic coloured spiders. I think they're unique to that set, and I've been collecting them for quite a while because I was always going to use a few of them on the wall of the Goody Ultra Agent's base, because these are his little spies, bugs literally. So I'll keep a few back, probably 2 or 3 for that purpose, but I've still got 2 or 3 more. So basically I thought I might have these kind of mounted on the outside of the building as if they're sort of coming from Spyclops and making their way into the building, maybe to download files with all sorts of dirty gossip on all the sort of mayor and all the rest of it of Brick Nottingham, so they can use that for blackmail purposes. Who knows? I mean, surely a newspaper building has got lots of details that's very private to a lot of people. So I don't know if that's going to be that easy to attach because of all these rails and these pieces that are integral to the building that I can't really change, and I can't really get one of these sort of attached to one of these glass pieces or something like that. So yeah, I'll see if I can kind of get them walking along this section, I think. Here goes. Quite often on brick hauls I get pieces like this, and you sort of think, well, they're just going to disappear into a bag, into a drawer somewhere, and probably never resurface. But they are all in the master plan, I can assure you, all these obscure things, and it's really nice to use these ones now. And what I've done is just put some modified bricks in, 2 of those, and one of these small 1x1 bracket pieces that are relatively new, and that means that I can just add 3 of my bugs, my spiders, coming out. Let's have them at different angles. Have that one going down, that one going up over there, and this one racing forward, maybe slightly up like that. And I think that's just a really nice touch. You might not notice it first of all, especially from a distance, but when you get closer up, you'll be like, oh wow, he's releasing little spiders. And I think that looks really good. Maybe I should add a 4th one sort of coming off here or something like that, but yeah, I think that looks good. What do you think? Yup, and there's a 4th one, just sort of attached to a modified plate that's hanging off the bottom of the walker. I think that looks pretty good. And you can actually still separate these floors actually relatively easily. You've just got to make sure that the toe of the walker is kind of tucked on the right side of the rail, and then it fits right back on. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. I think it's a really nice scene. Right, so that's 9 Ultra Villains placed so far. Let's keep going. Now we've got 2 rather large mechs actually, which are both green and both rather fantastic. This one is the character Terabyte. Now he was in the set 70165, Ultra Agents Mission HQ. when he was in this mech. He was also in the big boat as well. But this is the one you want because it's got the wonderful sort of spinning clawed hand and his great big gun that he can be toting. You kind of squeeze that and this ball goes absolutely flying. It's really quite powerful, surprisingly so. Yeah, but he's the sort of computer whiz and I really, really like him. I've actually bought his torso for use somewhere else in the city just because you can't see the bad to the code torso that he's got there on the back print, which is absolutely fabulous. So yeah, you can't really see that at all when he's in here. So I think I'm going to have him in the street because he's a bit big and I don't really want him sort of crawling up the walls as well. So he can just be sort of here or something like that, adding to the mayhem. And then the other mech is Toxikita, who's one of the characters that's in the Ninjago sort of theme now, as a goodie, I think, or something. Anyway, not the same character. And this is a really nice mech, quite small, kind of like the one on Alien, or Aliens, plural, sorry. Don't want to get comments about me getting my film references wrong. But yeah, she's got this pollution-powered, it looks like, mech that's got a pollution gun on one side and another claw, and I really like that as well. She's got the levers and her weapon. And this is the body armor version of her, because there is another version of her where she's with a really big helicopter, but that's also too big, though I did actually have that, and I've used most of the pieces for things like that beam for booming up the farmer with my alien and stuff like that. But this one comes from 70169, Agent Stealth Patrol from 2015, and very good it is as well. Now, with this one, I thought with this sort of toxic sort of gun, maybe she'd be on the ground, but round to one side, well, we will be able to see her kind of here, kind of putting all of the toxic stuff into the air conditioning system to sort of gas all of the occupants. Now, it'd be better if it was on the other arm, so we could have her kind of in this position and be able to see her mech. So I'll probably have to swap the arms over, so we've got the claw on the other side, and the gassy thing on this side. But if I just do a very quick flip, because they aren't entirely symmetrical, I have to sort of get the nice bits on there, then basically she can kind of be pumping toxic nasties into there, and I think that'd be quite good as well. And she's very bright, so she'll show up against the wall. And a few people commented about the bird being absolutely tranquil in its nest, despite the fact that this tremor track and tremor tank was sort of blasting through the ground floor. Well, yeah, she's just chilled out, basically. So even when we've got Toxikita here gassing the entire system, she's just going to keep it real, you know, be chilled, really. You know, why fret? It's not her problem. Good. Arm swapped, and I think it's looking rather good in that scene, adding pollution to the air conditioning. And I really think the lime shows up very well against the grey and what will be the white of the wall. So that is really good. So that makes 10 ultra villains placed. Not 11, because I've taken off Adam Acid from here and added a civilian running away in terror. And I will have a couple more civilians running in terror when we get into the Lego room. Maybe this one a bit further away, but he's not going to stand up now in running mode, so it will just be flat on his face. And that means that Adam Acid probably needs to be added to the street, where I can just have him firing his sort of toxic goop from his gun into the air. That seems to be a sort of theme that you see in films and so on. Everyone getting excited and just firing off in random directions. Right, so that means I've got 2 more ultra villains left. No, 3 more ultra villains left to make 14. And, well, 2 I'm considering not actually including on this scene. Now, one is Professor Brainstein, who is probably the rarest and the hardest to get, who's got this wonderful trans pink kind of brain inside his helmet, which is another unique piece, all unique to the set 70171 Ultrasonic Showdown. And yeah, I managed to get this in a bulk lot, actually, which I pretty much bought for him because it was about £30 and included him and about 10 others. So by the time I bought him, sold the 10 others again, I got him for free, would you believe? Net. A bit of effort having to do all that, but well worth it. So yeah, I could have him sort of running around the street or scuttling. But then again, I might have him, I don't know, with the Ultra Agents sort of a scene whenever I get round to that. I don't know. Maybe they're trying to sort of turn him back into goody Professor Brainstein. I don't know. Tell me what you think. But I'm thinking this street scene's already going to be quite full with all of these people. I could take him up for today, I suppose, and have him just outside milling around. Yeah, so I'll put him there. Talk myself into it. But one that I think is even more out of place, more of a fish out of water, is Sharks. Sharks came with 70172. Which is the antimatter portal hideout, which is a big sort of one with a cool dish piece that I have actually got ordered. This sort of really cool portal itself. That's coming in a brick hall soon, and maybe I'll incorporate into this whole scene. I think it better, actually, hadn't I? Maybe one of these civilians is getting thrown into it to turn them into a bad person. But yeah, this guy specifically is, well, water-based, as you might imagine. He's got his sort of fin on his back. He's got really interesting sort of gills and sort of scales on his face. So maybe I'll save him for my underwater cabinet, and I can have a mini little sort of Ultra Agents sort of scene in that whole setup, sort of like an Easter egg. Otherwise, I could have him just in the street looking really sort of out of place with his harpoon gun, sort of looking like, well, how am I supposed to help? I can barely breathe. I don't know. But that's that. So that would make the full 14. And wow, it's just great to have this collection out and about. I mean, you'll agree that with the building of all these sort of small side builds from the major sets, it's really, really adding a lot of colour to this scene. And dare I say it, I think it's better than all the Marvel stuff that it came with. So what we really need to do is take all of these pieces up, probably one by one, up to the Lego room and construct the whole building where we'll be able to see it from more of a distance, all joined together, because, well, we've only seen snippets for the last couple of videos, I think. And I, for one, am really keen to see all of this together. Wait. That's not 14. There's still one to show. And that's nobody's favourite, Drillex. Yep, here he is. A bit of an odd looking chap, but he does have these wonderful drill fists, so they're quite good fun. And he came in the set 70168, Drillex Diamond Job, where he's sort of driving a huge sort of tunnelling, vehicle, I suppose you'd call it. I don't know what. And that was a bit too big. I was considering piecing that together or buying a second-hand one and tidying it up. But I just thought it was far too big. And if I had that demolishing the ground floor, then I really wouldn't know what to do with the tremor track. So, yeah, so I'm just going to have him probably mounted on a fire escape, just to add a bit more interest to the side, drilling his way into the sort of fire door or something like that, up to no good. And I've added a civilian trying to escape via the fire escape as well on his way out in mad panic. So yeah, that is now the full 14, so now we can piece the whole thing together in the Lego room. Alright, so we're in the Lego room for the great unveiling. And I haven't done any of the street stuff yet. I'm just checking it for position first of all. But here we go. Drum roll, please. Whoa! How's about that? Looking pretty big. Pretty massive, actually. Very imposing. And I just love the fact that it's got all those ultra villains all over it. It is just one big scene, isn't it? It's one big happening. Even more so than the old Marvel Bugle. We'll have to stop calling it Bugle or referring it to as Daily Bugle. It is now the brick Nottingham Post building and nothing else. Wow, that looks absolutely great. I figured I'd put it at the end of this row just because, well, it is the most important now. It is definitely displaced the Leaning Tower Ferrari, which I'll have to move and move the Space Tower a bit sort of nearer or further away, depending. So I'm just sort of playing with order at the moment. But wow, doesn't it look dynamic? All that stuff going on. And yeah, have to sort of stand really back to get it all in, don't you? But starting at the top, we've got Electrolyzer there, and he looks great with those colours against the wall. I thought he would, and he really does. And then we've got Cyclone, just above the broken sign. Maybe it was him bumping into that did that damage. Or maybe it was Inferno, who's the next one down. I just changed his connection point onto his backpack so I could get a more jaunty angle with him sort of going down with his dynamite and so on. And I think that looks a lot better. Then we've got Drillex on there, just above the civilian, quietly trying to escape. And then the man with the plan, Antimatter. And I've just noticed in putting this in here that look what he's firing at. He's either firing directly at the ambulance helicopter or at least at the hospital itself. Oh, unbelievable. He really is a nasty piece of work, but he's definitely firing at that. He's already smashed through the front of the building. Yeah, so there we go. Wow. And then going further down, we've got Spyclops, who I think looks great with those spiders. I mean, that's almost my favourite scene, actually. That was the last of the sort of vehicles that I got, actually, so I'm really glad I kept going. Then we've got Invisible there. On the inside, we must have Retox. I think you can just see him through the glass in there. Then we've got Tremor on his tank or track, bursting through the front of the building, hard to miss. And then the rest are yet to place because they're all in the street scene. But wow, doesn't it look great? So yes, no referring to this as the Daily Bugle anymore. This is the Brick Nottingham Post building. And I think it just has to go at the end of here, doesn't it? Just so we can look down the street at what's going on. One thing that's a bit unfortunate, and maybe I'll have to move in due course, is that the police station and the, SSP station, shall I say it? Super secret police, is just across the road. And that's kind of a bit funny because I'm probably going to have to change the scene. All these policemen just having a nice sort of day coming out the front. They shouldn't be able to do that really if all this mayhem is going on just across the street. But I don't want to have this new building in front of the door to the closet because I think it won't work as well against the brown. And then for its neighbouring buildings, I think we'll be able to move the Leaning Tower of Pisa, Leaning Tower of Ferrari rather, in a bit. Though I will have to sort out the base because we've got this door frame here in the way. So I'm going to have to I might have to cut a base plate for the first time ever in my entire life to sort that out, or maybe I'll just move it onto a plate or something like that. I'll have a very small build or a small sort of narrow skyscraper in between the two. I'll have to think about that because we don't want that sign getting too near the brick of Brick Nottingham Post. And then on the other side, that dish is pretty much too tall to be too much nearer the post either. So we're probably going to need a skyscraper of intermediate size in the middle there as well. So yeah, it does rock the whole wall really. I mean, these two could go further up this direction. I mean, I'm going to have sort of tall buildings up to about here, I think. So, we can juggle the order of these in the future several times. I've already got one build planned for this wall or more. I'm trying to think. Yeah, definitely one anyway. But yeah, right. I think I'm going to have to get on with doing the street scene, doing the rest of the pavement around here, adding all the bits of sort of, wreckage, I suppose, adding a few tiles from the original thing, and adding the people for the street scene as well. And then I think we'll be complete. But I don't think I need to try another position because I think that's it. But what do you think? Right, there's the tiling done, and that is the street scene. All that wreckage being blasted out the front of the building next to Adam Acid. And there's Terabyte in his mech. Professor Brainstein. Sharks just sort of standing watching, really. But just his face is enough to scare that guy in the red shirt. And Toxikita around the other side. We'll have to look from the other standing hole in a minute and see how it looks from that direction. But I'm liking that scene of carnage. All of that is attached bar the large brick in front of the drinks machine. So that makes it really good for not sort of rolling around. And I will have to do the next sort of section of surrounding area, both on this side and on this side in due course. But as I say, I'm going to be moving these buildings around. So no point doing it twice. But that, I think, is a pretty amazing scene for the end of the street. Definitely very colourful, interesting, draws your eye. Makes you think, what on earth's going on there? Are they all attacking that building? Yes, they are. Oh, yeah. Well, this has been a long time coming, and collecting all the parts for all of these mechs and little builds has been taking a long time as well as part of all the brick hauls. And I'm really glad the two came together because it wasn't in the original plan. I was planning to demarvelise it, but I was going to kind of have it as a normal journalist building with a newspaper that was the Brick Nottingham Post. But bringing in all of these baddies and having them really on display as opposed to having them all cooped up inside that building there is definitely a massive improvement. But talking of improvements, do let me know if you can think of anything to make this scene a little bit better, apart from continuing the mayhem across the street with the police all panicking and trying to react, I suppose. I mean, at one point, we're going to have to consider where the new modular for 2022 is going to go. Depends what shape it is as well, where it goes. But yeah, that's looking really good. I think you'll agree. I hope you will, anyway. Yeah, so let's go over to the second standing hall and look at it from that perspective. Wow. Ho ho! It looks almost better from this angle, if anything. I really like the fact that we've got things sort of jutting out from the front. If you go down here, you can see all sorts of 3D things going on. It's not just another plain, boring, tall building. And that fire escape, I really think sort of, leaps out with its red colour. And the fact that we've got the double sort of height for each of them, I think is probably the biggest improvement to this set. If you've got a Bugle, then you might want to consider doing the fix for the fire escape. And the fact that we can see all those fire escape doors now, all one above the other, makes a lot more sense with it tied in with Toxketer gassing everyone. And Invisible there, and Drillex. Yeah, wow, looking good. Let's pan back and see how that looks. Yep, loads of stuff all over my floor. Don't trip over, Robin. Yeah, looking good. So we do need to add some traffic back. I know there were some suggestions last time for adding sort of traffic sort of kind of grinding to a halt or crashing into some of this mayhem. Maybe that's what this mech over here could be doing, is sort of ripping apart a car or something that's had the audacity to go anywhere near him. But yeah, just for now, I think that building is A, done, and B, awesome. So as always, thank you very much for watching. It is appreciated. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe for more awesome LEGO videos. And if you value this channel, there are many ways in which you can support it. Do check out the links in the description below. And next time on Robin Hood Bricks, it'll be Wednesday, so we'll be doing a brick haul. And I'm hoping that I've got loads of bricks to help build the supports for the fairground, so we can continue with that on Friday. And then on Monday, well, we'll have to either finish the railway carriages for the Flying Knotsman train, or maybe we could start something new like the supermarket, or maybe something else. Do let me know if you've got any particular preference. So until then, see you!